Greetings, I am Herbert Erpaderp, and Wednesday is upon us yet again. It seems to happen almost every week, and being Wednesday means it's time for everybody's favourite internet video show about asking Herbert Erpaderps. It's Ask a Herbert Erpaderp with me, Herbert Erpaderp. This week I have yet more World of Tanks action for you to watch while the words tumble forth from my mouth. First up, a brief moment from an otherwise uninteresting battle in which I used my KV-5 to take out the trash, which is one of its intended roles, the other role being bulldozer. I guess they're kind of the same role, aren't they? Anyway, this is one of those impulsive moments that makes me bad at World of Tanks. In the end, it was effective, and I had a good chuckle while doing it, so win-win. Though I do think that particular battle was a loss. If you want some more no-fucks-given KV-5 adventures, I uploaded a gameplay video yesterday featuring the KV-5. There's a link to that video in the description, so go and check it out. And let me know what you think. Do you like that style of video where I narrated over the battle, or do you prefer the moderately amusing moments clip videos that I used to do a lot of? I'll probably do both in the future, but it is nice to hear opinions. Patrons will know there was almost a delay to my videos this week. Last Tuesday night at around 1 AM, I was awoken by some tremendously loud thunder. The kind that is so close you can actually feel it rattling everything. The kind that, when you're very tired after just being startled awake, makes you think you're in the middle of an artillery barrage or something. It was kind of cool, but also kind of scary. Anyway, that storm destroyed my modem, which was nice. Fortunately, last week's Ask a Herbert Erpaderp had already been uploaded, and I was able to set it public over my phone's 4G, but my 4G connection here is garbage, and might as well be a couple of cans with a string. The ISP, after some annoying phone calls to tech support involving me having to plug and unplug the same cables into the modem and fiber box a number of times, said a maximum of 3 days for a new modem to arrive. The next day, a message stated that it would be 5 business days. This was obviously very annoying. I can amuse myself without the internet. I have books and movies and plenty of models to work on. But I also have voiceover work to deliver, and I like keeping a schedule on YouTube, so I was obviously kind of annoyed. The new modem, thankfully, arrived on Friday. I believe the reason it arrived on Friday, rather than Monday or later, is because I had made a video to explain my absence and to state that I was still alive that was hopefully small enough to upload via 4G on my phone. I guess the moral of the story is, if you need a new modem to arrive quickly, go to the effort of making a video to explain why you won't be uploading a regular video. It's worked 100% of the time for me so far. Anyway, enough rambling. I'm sure most of you don't really care about my adventures in new modem acquisition. Art Nichols said, "Ha ha ha, come with me on this adventure, ha ha, it's like Monty Python is assembling models." I think this is one of, if not the best compliment I have ever received. Thank you. Digger Steve says, "Can I ask anything on this show?" Yes you can. Will I answer anything? Maybe not. If it gets too personal, or if it's been asked a billion times, I probably won't answer. There is of course no obligation for me to answer absolutely everything, doing so would take a lot of time, but I will answer almost anything. Boon Gaming YT says, "That first part where the Panzer Souffle raised the gun up so high made me laugh so bad. That's probably my favourite thing about the toaster. If there were aircraft in the game, it might even be useful. It might just be that I'm childish and easily amused, but disappointingly, I never really see others driving around with their guns up in the air like that. I do quite like the Flak Boss, though I have no idea how to say its real name. You get a really nice gun, and it's nice and fast. Unfortunately, it's also big and made of paper, so for someone like me that usually plays quite aggressively, it does take some effort to use effectively." Boar Harms says, "I feel pity for you for the fact that you have to play on the terrible mess that is the Asia server. Even though I've only played on the EU server, I have seen videos of the Asia server. It's really bad. Speaking of World of Tanks, could it perhaps be fun if we got you and your subscribers in a World of Tanks room at once? I think it might be fun." The Asia server does seem especially bad. There is after all the stereotype that Asians are really good at video games. Maybe it's only specific video games. Or it could be that all the bad players are the Australians and New Zealanders, which wouldn't surprise me. At any rate, it's not all bad. It means someone like me, who isn't especially good at tanks, can often do better than I normally would if everybody was a good player. If I took it more seriously, I could probably even be what's the good player rating thing just below Unicum? I don't know. A green player for those who use XVM. Whatever that's called. I don't much care about stats, but last time I checked I was average or yellow, I think. Or maybe orange? I don't know, don't really care. It would be fun to have games of World of Tanks with subscribers. I've been thinking of doing it for quite a while. I just suck at organising things and putting plans into action, I guess. It would of course require that they be on the Asia server though, and I'm sure a lot of you aren't in this region. I'm not especially interested in going to another server, mostly because I can't take my tanks with me, and I don't want to do the grind to get them all back and buy new premium tanks. Those of you who do play on the Asia server or are willing to create an account on the Asia server, let me know. If there's enough interest, maybe we can do some team battles or something. I have also thought that it might be fun to do a sort of Fight Herbert thing. I'd probably make it for patrons, but the idea would be that you could 1v1 me in the tank of your choice, assuming I have that tank or an appropriate equivalent. I do have a lot of tanks, so there would be quite a bit of choice there. I haven't really put a lot of thought into it, but it could be fun. Obviously, before doing this, I would need to get my graphics card, which, barring any unfortunate circumstances, should be very soon. Hopefully nothing that requires money happens, because I hate when my plans are foiled, especially by random unforeseen expenses. I also really need to get a new mouse, though the mouse I've got at the moment will probably help you win against me. I mean, it does work, but if you notice the screen being really shaky during the gameplay videos I put up, it's not entirely my hand being shaky. I do have shaky hands, but they're not that bad. The mouse also kind of shakes. Not physically, but depending on how I position the mouse on the mouse pad, the cursor will wobble back and forth as I move the mouse in a straight line. Very annoying. It also does this on other surfaces, so it's not the mouse pad. It's about 6 or 7 years old anyway, so it's a good excuse to buy additional shiny new toys. Or tools. Yes, it's a tool. I use it to do work, so it's a tool. This makes it easier to justify spending more money on a mouse. Top Bunk Productions says, "Silly Herpaderp, Ride of the Valkyries isn't copyrighted. It was composed so long ago that it's now public domain." Well, that's true, but it's not exactly the case with all recordings of the composition. Even if the composition itself is public domain, recordings of it are copyrighted works of whoever performed and recorded them. For example, you could record your own version of the piece and it would be fine. That recording would be your copyrighted work, and so it would be wrong for someone else to then take your recording and use it themselves without appropriate permission or credit. That said, there is a version of Ride of the Valkyries in the YouTube audio library that can be used. I probably have actually used it before, but now I know it's there and I can use it, I don't need to sing it myself. Scout Trooper Productions says, "Thanks for the Ilya Brizlogov reference." I was confused for a second. What's an Ilya Brizlogov and when did I make a reference to it? Then Google reminded me that Ilya Brizlogov is the "why you have to be mad" guy. Today I learned who Ilya Brizlogov is. And of course I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Probably not. But I don't think Ilya would be mad about that. Seahorn Actual says, "On the off chance I ever come to Australia, can I buy you a beer and touch your bits box? Hashtag not a serial killer." Well, with that hashtag, you couldn't possibly be a serial killer. Sure, I like free beer. I mean, I like beer I have to pay for too, but it does taste better when it's free. As for the bits box, I guess you'll have to ask it for yourself. The bits box is its own being, and I can't give consent for it. Gustav 2 Adolf says, "Yay, I was included twice. Will you reward me with an internet biscuit?" Sure, please wait 4 to 8 weeks for arrival of internet biscuit. I was considering doing that "oops, I accidentally shoved the cookie into my mouth" thing again, but I didn't feel like it and I didn't have any cookies on hand anyway. Jacob says, "Don't mind me, just an ordinary comment passing through." Not sure if believe. You look like a nefarious comment up to no good. I've got my eye on you. Jacob also says, "What type of tank models would you rather make forever? World War II tank kits or World War I tank kits? Or plane kits?" One thing to do forever. I think I would rather be dead than only do one thing forever. Though, out of those, I would choose World War II tank kits. There just aren't that many tanks for World War I, and I would get bored much sooner. There's a lot of variety in World War II tanks, and I'm more interested in tanks than planes, so for me that's the best choice. Boar Harms says, after counting my tanks a couple of days ago, I've been wondering, how many tanks do you have? And how many of them are done, painted, etc.? It was very tempting to just say that I couldn't be bothered counting all of my tanks, but I was curious so I did it. I went through and checked off each tank that I own. It turns out I have 120 built tanks. That's unpainted built tanks. I have an additional 82 that are painted. That makes 202 tanks in total. I also have 28 other vehicles like trucks and half-tracks that are not yet painted, and another 20 that are painted. That's an even 250 vehicles in all scales. And there's every chance that I've got a few hidden away in corners or in boxes that I've missed. It seems like I'm never going to run out of models to paint, that's for sure. How many tanks do you guys have? Let me know in the comments. If I had to count my tanks, then you can too. Potato Inc. says, Herbert, Ravenfield Beta 5 is out. Get it and record it. I didn't know that. I might have a look at it a bit later. Just looking at the changelog, it seems they've added a quad bike. That ought to be fun. Also, apparently the helicopter has a new control scheme. Maybe I won't immediately flip it upside down now. Expect a video at some point. The Agile Aardvark says, the plural of mouse is moise. English native speakers could pronounce it rather easily using the first part of moist. Leaving off the T but instead adding an E pronounced like the first E of M&M. Moise-menem, kinda. He also adds a small collection of additional useless information about German gun naming, though I find it interesting and I'm sure a lot of others do too. My favourite is Flak, Flugabwehrkanon. Flugabwehrkanon. I'm sure it sounds really stupid when I try to pronounce it, but that's what I like about it. Thanks for this comment, it was interesting. On Monday's video, which was about the assembly of the Malifaux Miners and Steamfitters Union box, Top Bunk Productions says, I was totally confused about the size of the tiny spiders until that handy moth flew in. And if you don't want the swarm for the game, I'm sure they can be turned into some weird World War II Wunderwaffe or something. Der Spiderbomben Ausführung B, maybe? Spiderbomben. That's amazing. I love it. That's a really good idea. I could paint them black and add a little fuse to the top just like the classic cartoon style bomb. That would be great. The main reason I don't want to use the metal spiders is because I've got the plastic ones, so I don't really see a need, especially because the plastic ones just look so much better. But maybe now they do have a use. If I ever play Conflict 47, they might be ideal, assuming there's some kind of rule for little bomb things. The Germans used the little remote-controlled Goliath bomb tank, why not a version on spider legs instead of tracks? Also, Frank was a good moth. I mean, the 10mm grid on my cutting mat is useless for scale. If only I could have a moth for scale in every video. You can't control a moth like Frank though, so he might never be back. Carl Main says, Malifaux minis are such a pain to put together, and so damned delicate. I've had parts break just clipping them from the sprue, but they do look awesome when fixed up and painted. I sort of disagree, but I also sort of agree. Most of the time I've found Malifaux models pretty easy to put together, but to be fair, most of the ones that I have built haven't had all the spider legs and thin arm things like these did, though a lot of the parts do require a very light and careful touch when removing them from the sprue, and when removing mold lines. But they really do look awesome in the end, so I think it's worth the effort. I really do need to get some of my Malifaux stuff painted. And that was the final question this week. It's hot and I want to go and watch Tinker Tailor Soldier Fry, so I'll leave it here. Hopefully the answers have been helpful or at least a little bit interesting. If you've got a question you would like me to answer on next week's Ask a Herbert Erpaderp, be sure to leave it in the comments section. I don't know where else you would put it, except maybe the Patreon comments or Twitter, I don't know. Just leave it in the comments section, I'll see it quicker there. You can also leave any other random comments or suggestions you might have in the comments section. If you didn't like this video, I'm not sure how you made it this far, but you can click on the thumbs down button to register your dissatisfaction. But if you did like it, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It's a life-changing event. Not massively life-changing at all, but still, I'm sure the butterfly effect means you clicking subscribe causes something massive somewhere else. Maybe? No? Subscribe anyway. If you like the videos I make, and subscribing and clicking like isn't enough, please consider helping to support the channel over on Patreon. Patrons get to see my videos a little earlier than everyone else, along with some patron-only bonus content like outtakes and little sneak peeks at what I'm working on. Your support on Patreon will help me purchase more of the models you guys want to see me build and paint. Click on the link in the description or the Patreon logo on screen now. As always, I shall return soon. So until then, happy modelling or gaming or whatever it is you're doing, and thanks for watching. Farewell.